When I was 60, Matt gave me a good roast, so I think it's time I return the favor. And it'll be a good thing
Is the
because
bishop from Tanzania showing up?
yeah, somewhere.
Where's the bishop? He's over there.
But it's good to hear the stories before you're gone, literally. We're going to get this opportunity, and hopefully this will allow us to share stories with other people we know, because it's usually, we don't have these opportunities to do that. So I don't know what's going to happen today. It's just an open mic. I got some things I want to say, and you're just going to sit there and be quiet. So, you got funny stories, embarrassing stories that you can tell publicly. Serious stories that you want to tell, just whatever is what you want to do. But Mary wanted to start first. Mary,
Well, I'm going to start at the very beginning. Very good place to start. You come up here. This was when Pastor Matt was in Pierce, and we met. Gary and I actually met Pastor Matt at a tech weekend, and that's Teens Encounter Christ. But somehow we met him, and then we decided, well, we want to go visit with this guy. And I had not met Becky yet. But we're driving into Pierce, and where the old library is, here, we look, and here's a young guy on a bicycle, and there's, come here. And then there's another kid on the back of the bicycle on the pegs. And show them what you was doing. And he had his wrists duct taped together, and I'm riding the bicycle. Yeah, his hands were duct taped, and I told Gary, I says, whoa, this is a strange town. The kids are duct taped their hands together. Well, so then we proceeded to go to Pastor Matt's house. Here's the same kids. Oh my gosh.
Tell him what you said there when you walked in.
What did I say?
Could you believe some parents will let their kids out like that?
But ever since then, they've been our family, and I think we kind of helped raise them. I don't know. But they helped raise us, too. So. Who's next?
Well, I'll just talk for a minute. I'm from the church in Pierce, when they were in Pierce. And we certainly enjoyed that family and watched those four little kids. And here they are, and Tara's over there somewhere. Yes, and two more boys. So we truly enjoyed them in our family church.
Hey, where's Steve?
Where's
Steve?
Oh, it's okay.
You wanted this to be handled within a time limit, right?
Yeah.
Some know you.
No, hey. Doing this.
This is what you're doing. This is what I want you to do.
That's exactly what I said.
I hear it.
I know what you mean.
Say who you are. People don't know who you are.
Okay. Well, I'm his brother. From another mother.
Boy, have I got a lot of
Oh,
Who are you?
Who are you?
I'm Steve.
Hi, Steve.
And actually, I joined his family here, I don't know, a few years back. When did you come here?
6 years ago.
6 years ago. Yeah, that's when I joined his family. And I don't know what to say.
This is a rare moment. The address is without words, folks. Write this down.
Are the gears going too slow, Steve?
Huh? No, I tell you what, not gonna roast him here today because I do that on a daily basis. Me and him got a special relationship going. It's a love-hate one. But the thing I can say about Matt is that he's become one of my best friends, and also, like I say, he is like my brother. We've gotten, you know, he's kind of saved my life somewhat.
Amen.
And it just seems like I just got to know him, and here he is leaving, so. And he can't move far enough away to get away from me.
Write that one down too.
And actually, Gary, where are you? Come on over.
The other brother.
Oh gosh, now we got the twins.
So,
Well, you know, you talk about the brother thing, you know, and I always said, he ain't heavy, man, he's my brother.
I know.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I have.
But I thought you had short-term memory loss.
Yeah, but that was over an hour ago.
Okay. Well, you know, the story that comes to my mind, you know, and I mean, there's a lot of them, but that short-term memory loss, you know, I can't go back too far. But Labor Day weekend, you know, he takes off to get Becky from the airport. And next thing, you know, first of all, it's, well, you want to ride along with him? I'm fine. Ain't long to get a phone call, Matt's been in an accident. So
I hadn't even left the place.
I hadn't even left the place. I guess I've got to back up a little bit further here. That morning I went on a walk, you know, and we kind of ended up down in the trees and stuff. And I bumped into a little gal, I think she said she was 7th grade, and cross-country runner. And we were just kind of talking, and she was telling me about some of her family dynamics and stuff like that. But when I get back to the cabin, you know, I come in, and the first thing Matt says to me, "Did you ask her if she knows Jesus?" So anyway, you know, we go down to see Matt, you know, look at his car, it's all smashed up, you know, and we're standing there, and there's those people with the 4 of them standing there glaring at him. And I asked him, I says, "Did you ask them if they know Jesus?"
I didn't have much of a sense of humor, did he, at that time?
And did you hear? They all thought it was funny. I thought you and me were the only ones.
Hey, you two deaf guys! Now, I want everybody to, you know who the Muppets are? From the Muppets? These are the 2 old deaf guys in the balcony.
Just so everybody else, because there's a lot of people who don't know you two here, would you stand like you normally have to hear each other when you talk?
How you doing? Pretty good.
Both of them are deaf in one ear, and the only way they can talk to each other is that they're facing away from each other, so their good ears are next to each other. That explains a lot of the stories.
That's kind of a little bit of a loose good ear.
I got a good one.
I don't.
Who's the moderator?
I told you it's going to be like the gong show that they get from gongness. Your mother.
Is that the only story you got?
You know, there was actually another one, but I don't know if Mary's really the one that could tell I was one of his sermons.
Oh, no.
But that probably isn't going to fit there.
I know that story.
Next.
Where's the gong? Let's just talk about it.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, okay.
He was.
Okay, on a more serious note, right?
Married somebody else.
I don't know if I can do this, though. I might need a. I am Margaret Sweetalk. Another part of probably Matt's family here. This is not going to work. It's going to end up on the floor, and I'm going to need help.
You need me to stand
Hang on a
help?
minute. No.
We don't want the old farts.
Hang on.
You guys are done.
I got the gig. Oh, I can't do it. You can do this. Show us how it goes.
Oh, my gosh.
Stand up and do
You
it.
know, I just want to, okay. So I get to Illinois for my interview session, and I get to Illinois for my interview session, and for those of you who were at early text with me, early on I did something called The Gift, which has just never gone away, but it seems to come back because I went to interview at Illinois, and one of the interviewers looks at me and she goes, "Oh, by the way, I hear you're a dancer." I said, "What do you mean I'm a dancer?" She goes, "Well, I hear you've got this thing with a gift." And I said, "I cannot believe, even before I got to Illinois, this is haunting me." So the way this went was I was doing a Teens Encounter Christ early on, and I think, no, there was other people in it, but I did Good Friday and then Easter morning, and so I got up Easter morning, and of course when you get a group of teens up early in the morning, they look like this. But it's an Easter morning service. So I wanted to remind them that, don't forget what Jesus has done for us today. He's given us a gift. And I've got a package in my hand, and I said, we should all instead of be sitting there like this, we should be like this, we got the gift, we got the gift. And that has haunted me ever since. So there's a lot more moving before.
So there's more to this gift today. And we'll see if I can make it through it. I came a little more prepared. Because I just hope I'm not bawling by the time I get to the end of it, okay? So, as you prepare to leave us, I guess I say, what am I thankful for and what will I remember? As I look through my recipes, I will be reminded of you. Asian roasted Brussels sprouts, which will show up later. Ratatouille, which will show up later. I don't know what that said, but that's okay. And these are Pastor Matt's recipes. And every time I asked him, so how'd you make that? The answer always came back, just follow the recipe. Thanks. Yeah. So, one of my favorites that I like to make is homemade hummus. And I got to turn that back on him. He says, so how do you make that? I just follow the recipe. So, that, every time I pull those out of my recipe file, you will be there. You've challenged me, making me mad sometimes. But most of the times you've spurred me on to be a better version of myself. I've learned to bring my Bible to church and use it in church. My utmost for my highest. You will always be part of that memory. You and where's Becky?
In the back.
Is there somewhere?
You both taught me you've taught me to ask, gosh, I couldn't do this. You've taught me to ask why and ask questions.
Oh, get your shoes.
And Becky, I'm sorry, I know it's supposed to be his roast, but you've taught me how to use a salt grinder the right way. And I watched you and I just went, I can't imagine. And that was a whole new revelation, watching Becky use a salt grinder, which I'm sure she learned from him, I don't know.
She didn't know about the foil box, though, so.
You've taught me to learn another country, Tanzania. You've taught me to love the people in that country. I've learned that let's meet for coffee isn't so much about the coffee, although a good cup of coffee. And some people know what that means. That's Emily, my daughter, showing up because she roasts her own coffee. And it is wonderful if it's a good cup of coffee or it's a good cup of tea. But the meeting for coffee isn't about meeting for coffee. It's about the relationship. And it's about spending the time with others. And that's what's important. So the cup of coffee is important, but the relationship's more important. And there have been times of fellowship and game nights. Sometimes you win some,
She kept scoring.
sometimes you lose some. The object in this game was the less points. Lonnie, 70. Matt, 895. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. Oh, there are some in there that he won. But,
Not by that margin.
but the last piece in here, and I'll be done, is a deck of cards. And this one I have to read because I want to make sure I say it right. As I observe this deck of cards, it's apparent to me that you've challenged us to be inviting. To be inviting in my times of gathering and in my times of getting to know others and to know God. To be inviting and creating friends who can become family. But as oh no, don't drop. Because there's a reason they need to stay in order. But as I look at the deck of cards that you will take to Illinois with you, you see, and I see that the cards are in perfect order. They are, it's a brand new deck. Okay, they're all in the original order. But life isn't like this. It's not in perfect order. Families are not like this. They're actually pretty messed up. Life's actually pretty messed up.
I think you need to go to Vegas.
It's a new deck of cards. I'm not trying to be too wild or hit you all over the floor. But when God's in the middle, the relationships and the families come together in time into wholeness. So this deck of cards is going to go with you. I also am inviting other people. I've got markers, and some of us have signed on cards in here. You can sign just your name, but you can also just have a couple words of sentiment if you want. And you'll see other people who have signed. Remember, leave God in the middle. Okay? He needs to stay there. But I want you to sign, take time. This deck of cards will be here. This is going with them. Okay? And as you go, I want you to think about, and I want you to remember us when you look at that. And this needs to be in your house somewhere where you see it. Okay? Who have you invited? Who have you invited? And I want that, who will you open yourselves up to be family? New family. We will always call you our family. But it's exciting to see it grow, even if it's hard to see it grow. So, that's it. Probably on that back table there, I've got a couple markers there. When you sign a card, also make sure, because they are brand new cards, the black marker does absorb, but sometimes it takes just a hint of time. So make sure your card is dry before you put it back in the deck. And remember, God stays in the middle. That's really why those are on the handle.
Well, you know, I grew up in this chair. This is from my mom and dad's house. And I'm leaving these chairs here. Because my hope was that somebody would find time to go sit and have a cup of coffee in the office with the stuff that's left in there.
Okay, anybody, I know some people come from a distance, any one of those want to speak?
I'm here from the previous church.
Okay.
I'm Ken Manesson from Yankton, South Dakota. My wife Diane sits over there. Every time I found out that I was going to have another opportunity to work with you, Matt, I got kind of excited because there was never a dull moment when you get to work with Matt. But I wasn't going to get up here and say anything, but I thought in my own defense, I probably better get up here and say something really nice. Because I know what kind of ammunition he has to throw at me if he ever got invited to roast on me. Keep that cell phone.
Put it back in.
But, Matt, I just wish God's blessings to you in your new chapter of life. I've thoroughly enjoyed being able to work with you, and I was disappointed when I heard that you were leaving us. But I also know that you're a man of God and you answers the call that are given to you. And God's blessings.
Oh, Ollie,
Tell them who you are.
What's that on your lap? Yes, you did.
Tara, get a picture.
Well, I told you earlier, you know, when I first met you, I thought, how can he possibly relate to teenagers? But it took me at least a half hour to fall in love with you. So all you had to do was see those dimples, and that was it. I love you, Matt. I'm sorry to see you leave, but I know that's what God's called you to do.
It's not goodbye.
Yeah, it's not goodbye. If not before, see you there.
See you again.
Good luck. I shouldn't say good luck, should I? It's
No,
God's-
never say good luck.
God's
blessings.
blessings to you.
You still read the newsletter.
Yeah.
Just so you all know, if this lady here, she's nearly 100.
Pretty close to it, though.
This lady still to this day does Teens Encounter Christ weekends. I've got an 86-year-old woman in Illinois who's already going on a mission trip or on a field trip with my youth from the congregation there, and I spotted her immediately. Anybody who tells me you're too old, you can't do youth ministry, wrong.
Right there.
All you have to do is love Jesus this much and know that the youth around you are the most renewable and most endangered species there is inside the church.
Especially endangered.
And they need you, and they need people like you, so you don't ever, as a matter of fact, I'm hoping that they'll freeze dry you and take you to
Well, he told me that it says in Scripture that I shall never retire from chess, so I guess I have to keep going.
I need to ask you, Marlene, how many techs have you worked? 70,
84 Sioux City techs and 6 others.
84.
90 total.
They do 3 to 4 a year, so do the math. So.
90.
I think he keeps me well just to do it. So I'm waiting for the next one.
Hey. Shirley.
Hi, I'm Shirley.
Sure.
And recently, we had Matt and Becky out to our place to sit around the fire pit. And halfway through the evening, he said, "May I use your restroom?" I said, "Well, yeah, you know where it's at." So he goes in there, and he's a while in there. How long was he in there, Becky? A long time. A long time.
Not that long.
In my bathroom, I have these 3 words: relax, renew, and refresh.
You ought to think about that.
And so, he comes out there and he's going, and we're going, what are you doing? And he says, well, the word said relax, renew, and refresh. And I said, well, that's what you just did. You relaxed, and you renewed yourself, and you refreshed yourself. But sitting on my toilet is this little spray bottle, which, Margaret, you forgot to bring me one.
At home on the kitchen table.
Anyway, I have this little Scentsy refresher. And so he picks that up and he's looking at it. And he sprays it in his face. So Matt, when you find spray bottles, please don't spray. Hold it, look until you find the little hole, and then you spray it away
I
from
was trying to
yourself.
find to make sure it was away from me, but it,
We love you, Matt.
and I did feel refreshed. I was refreshed and renewed, so thank you.
Good.
Look to make sure, I was actually looking and trying to make sure.
Away from yourself. Somebody else?
Well, if everybody's sitting on his lap, I just want to sit on his lap.
There's less of it, but go ahead. I think you
I
were
want to know,
done.
has anybody warned Illinois about what's coming?
They already found out, so.
I'll bring the box story again here. We have a story.
One of, Pat Rupert from Congregation in Pierce, who knew about it because her daughter was at that Teens Encounter Christ, was one of the people they called to check references with. And Pat told them about it.
She gave you good references then.
Yeah,
Now you're leaving.
they can't know that not what they're getting, so.
So I had to drive the 4 hours back just because I was told we got a chance to make fun of you on open mic.
I've had a chance to make fun of you for 6 years, and I didn't have to go anywhere.
So I do have one story to tell. It was when we were in Chicago. We had to clean out this unair-conditioned school in the dead of summer. What was it? It was like 93 degrees and 82% humidity or something all week. So, and there's no air conditioning in this. It was built in like, oh, I don't know,
1930s.
yeah, 30s. So it was just hotter than heck in there. We had to clean out these classrooms because they were going to put wax on the floor. So we're there cleaning out the classrooms and we're all working. It's hotter than heck. And Matt stops and sits down. And everybody else follows suit except for me. And I'm standing there and I keep moving stuff. And I do that for about 10 more minutes while he's sitting there taking a break. And he looks at me and goes, "Would you just slow down?" So I sat down, and I think after 30 seconds that I sat down, as soon as my butt hit the floor, I knew I needed a break. And about 30 seconds afterwards, he looks at me and goes, "All right, let's get back to work." Stands up and goes back to work. And I'm just thinking, stand there thinking, you son of a... No, but I think we all hate to see you go. I know personally me, you're the person that I turn to a lot for help. And you did help a lot. It sucks to see you go. We'll miss you.
Was it worth the 4 hours?
One other thing Matt loves to do is to cook and to eat.
If you ever want a slight glimpse of hell, try cooking with Matt before an event.
I'll tell a story maybe sometime.
And then try eating with me afterwards. And you get heaven too.
before Matt came here, we went to Columbus for a theological,
Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio, yeah. I had to go down and see his dad. But he had to take me to Cincinnati, and we went to all the eating places. First we went to White Castle. And then we went and had
Five Ways at Skyline.
five-way
chili. It's
Five-way chili. Have you heard of five-way chili? That, and then to top it all off, we went to where Bob Hope always went and got ribs at,
Ribs King.
what was it called?
Ribs King.
That was what it was?
Yeah, that was all in one day.
Yeah. And Lonnie, do you have a story about White Castle you want to share at all?
White Castle?
Yeah.
Never drive in a van full of 20 teenagers.
One thing, Matt, come on up here. One thing Matt was able to do was to go on one of mission trips. And, I went up to Minot when the flood was over there with some adults. Was that Katrina or what was that?
Went to Katrina twice.
Twice down there. And I think Lonnie was on that trip. And
We're already planning for Texas next year, so.
No, when I first, shortly after met Matt, we went down to Katrina. Or, there we go. Anyway, went down with Matt and his group from Pierce to Katrina, and he's building this up all the way down. We gotta stop at White Castle, we gotta stop at White Castle. So here, 20 of us pile into this little restaurant, and you have individual orders going in, then you get these crave cases where there's 30 burgers and all this stuff. And so I don't know, there was 200-300 burgers were
pretty close
purchased between all of us. And the kids ate most of them. But then Matt, in his infinite wisdom, puts me in a van with 20 kids after stopping at a White Castle.
And a bottle of Harvest.
And I did have a bottle of house, luckily, but White Castle has its effects down the road. Anyway, my only saving grace was the air vent and an open window. So. But I think Matt suffered on that trip also because he ate the White Castle, but he was stuck in the van with the women. So.
Things were a little more free-flowing in the one van, and things weren't moving in the other.
So we both had the short end of that. Yeah, right. But it was a blessing. It was fun. So, but yeah. So, we stopped at a rest stop here a couple hours after the White Castle, and I climbed out. Got out and I just said, some things just aren't right.
As all the kids ran to the bathroom, and Lonnie just looked at me, some things are just not
fresh air.
Are you going to bring me your shoes?
No, that was not good.
So, it's been a blessing having you here.
anybody here not know what a White Castle hamburger is? They're really small and they have a lot of chopped onions in it. And they're steamed. They're steamed to warm up, so.
Oh boy.
Well, a majority of you guys don't know me. I met Pastor Matek quite a while ago. It's been a while, yeah. I was 14?
Yeah.
I'm 19 now.
Yeah.
My name is Wyatt Blesser, by the way. I live up in Vermillion, South Dakota. I'm originally from Nebraska. I had to drive. I didn't have to drive as far as Patrick, but I only had to drive 2 hours. But Pastor Matt has been a really good role model to me in my life, especially with my relationship to God. He's definitely one of the very few people in this world that can make me cry, especially with the sermons and the talks at Tech. Honestly, I don't know where I'd be at in my relationship with God if it wasn't for you in that Tech. Definitely been one of the biggest impacts ever. I remember at Tech when you were telling a joke to my ex-girlfriend, And he was telling the joke about the dog and about his arm being red. And he tells Michaela, says, yeah, and there's this little divot in my collarbone right here. You gotta feel it. She goes to feel it. She was mad at me for some reason. But I'm very sad to see it go. Definitely one of the biggest impacts on my relationship together. And I want to end on a quote from Pastor Matt. Rice, rice, rice. I'm going to make some rice. Is it good rice? Is it bad rice? Rice, rice, rice.
That was good, right? I, Olson. Good, you got it down. I'm in a meeting now. I'm the brother to Patrick Olson, as you can tell. We both have the glorious Olson looks. But when I first came to this church, we had 2 years without a church home, and was it 1 or 2 years after I came to this church that we did the dinner theater? Second year. Okay, it was the second year. I was kind of well-adjusted, shy kid, you know. And Pastor Matt's announced, we're doing a dinner theater. I'm like, oh, cool, I get to be a waiter. He's like, no, you're going to be an actor. I was like, but I can't act. I don't act. And he said, don't worry, I'll give you a small part. So he gives me the ending part where I had to play a Jewish man. And I walk in at the end, say a couple lines, and then I leave. And I'm like, oh, that sounds good. But then he throws the curveball. You got to learn a Yiddish accent. And I'm like, but I can't learn a Yiddish accent. He's like, no, you're going to learn a Yiddish accent. And so what he does is that while everybody's practicing, I'm locked in that dark closet over there, and I'm watching a video on how to do a Yiddish accent for most of the performance. And so by the end of the play, I had a Yiddish accent. And so,
Oh, you were very good.
No, it was not.
You're making me verklempt.
Yes, good. I don't know. Yeah, but when Pastor Matt tells you you're going to do something, you're going to do it, whether you like it or not. Which is one of his good and bad charms. It's he tests your boundaries. He pushes you to do things that you wouldn't dream of doing. Like, I never thought I would go on a mission trip to Oklahoma. It was very fun, and every night Pastor Matt would whoop my butt at cards and then crush my small ego even further. But he's made a very big impact on, I think, all the youth's lives. And we're going to miss him for that. But I still will not miss you forcing us to eat crickets at Sonic. No. I didn't care if it had cheddar sauce on it. It's still a cricket. So, Pastor Matt, I just really hope that the Illinois congregation can handle you, that the church can still stay standing, and that the youth don't freak out. So, good luck to you. Perfect there.
It's a specialty.
Wow. Maybe there's a kid want to say anything.
Yay, Jesus! Yeah.
This is Jesus here.
No, it's serious when
Thank
Jesus
you.
comes down to roast.
I have a roommate who pretty much looks exactly like I do, but he has black hair. He gets Jesus a lot. I usually get Thor. So this is fun. I wasn't expecting that to come up here, actually. I guess I was, because I have a different perspective of this man than a lot of you. He's my father, and he's raised me, and I get to see him at his best, not his worst. And I just really love this guy. I'm making this all about a guy, by the way. But I just remember a lot of stuff that's really stuck with me. I think the first one was what Patrick mentioned about that Chicago mission trip that we went on several years ago. I was still in high school, and I just remember we were walking along, and my uncle was there as well. They're kind of showing us around the city. We were trying to find a place to eat and stuff, and a guy walked up and asked us for some change. And we didn't, a lot of us didn't really have anything. We're like, oh, what do we do? This guy seems scary. We're all in high school. Yeah, what do we do? And I just remember something that's really, really stuck with me for a long time. Is that my dad took him to the side, and they talked for a little bit, and then the rest of us carried on with my uncle. And you took him out to eat, bought him a meal, and you talked with him. And as far as I know, you told him about Jesus. And that's something that's really stuck with me, I guess. Is your attitude and your relationship with people that you don't know, and how you're able to care about them and genuinely love them. And I really appreciate that. That appreciation for that you've instilled in me. That I really think that you've done a great job as being a role model of someone who loves, someone who shows Christ's love. And that's really, really cool. I'm glad that you've done that. I know all these people are here because they've seen that you've done that. And yeah, I'm going to miss you guys too. It's a weird stage in my life where I'm not going to be able to just hop in my car and see you guys on the weekend if I need to. I'll still try to get to Illinois. But 8 hours is a little bit of a long haul. But I know we're really looking forward to seeing how this new stage of life is going to be. I know you're going to be used in this new congregation. I know that Illinois really will have something coming towards them, and I can't wait to see just how God uses you in this new stage of life. So I don't really have any crazy stories. I feel like a lot of you guys already know them, and I don't know, but I did want to say that. I love you very much.
You know, we should say goodbyes and then not really go. Because it's kind of cool to hear all this. Anybody else? Charlie. Charlie.
No, I'm going to get real.
Bishop, nice to see you again.
Bishop Bossy.
I'm Charlie Skoglund. Usually I have a story to tell, and today I don't feel much like telling funny stories because Matt has meant a whole lot to me. I first met him, it wasn't under the best situation. It was about 7-8 years ago, and it was when my brother-in-law Dean was killed. And Matt was officiated at one of the services they had for him. And he became our pastor shortly thereafter. So it took some getting used to. You know, you tend to associate things. Well, it took a little bit there. Most of you who go to church here know that I have been the pastor's assistant for many years. And it's a position I love to do. And I love to be part of that. If there's a story to be told, it was when Matt and I did one of the very first services together. And I was really nervous about that. He's pretty predictable. He's the wild card. And so we walk up to the front. Oh, by the way, he let me wear a robe after I'd asked for 10 years. We went ahead and we walked up in front. We both had our albs on. And we're standing up in front. And we say a little prayer before we begin the service. And Matt leans over and he says, you know, if we stand here long enough, they could show a slideshow on our backs. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get along with him just fine. There's a lot of things I've learned from Matt. And I hope we don't ever lose those. And it's, each one of us has a ministry, a very special ministry. And you may think it's just minute, but it talks to somebody somewhere along the line. Don't ever give up and say, I can't do it. Because you can. You're already doing it. Matt and I share a lot of things. One of the things was our girth. I am now 40 pounds heavier than Matt is right now. I was with Matt when he had his surgery in Omaha. And there's a reason for that, because I'm walking the same path that he walked. And so I didn't want to go through that alone. Now I may have to, but I think I will have a pal there when I need one. I hate to see you go. You've taught me a lot. I owe you a lot. And I love you.
One second. Yeah, you can hold that for me. Yeah, in Charlie's assisting minister role, I was like being drunk. We had to let him borrow an alb, and then this is called a cincture, or in my case, it used to be the strap that held the burlap bag together. And so we presented that to Charlie some time ago, so that he could have that to be able to help do his assisting minister role. And that was a big moment, I know, for him, and it was a big moment for us, because we've been seeking that people to step into the roles of assisting minister here in many ways. And I don't quite fit things in the way I used to, and I've already got a spare. So on behalf of those of us, I want to make sure that you keep this with you, and you continue to do your work as assistant minister in this congregation everywhere you go. And put that on knowing that as you cover, and as you prepare, that's God wrapping around you to say we can do this. So, thank you.
Hi, I'm Kelsey. I'm one of his youth members for now, I guess, and for always. He took us on our Okoboji trips, except for the one with Becky where we somewhat got lost in the dark, but that just a tiny bit, that's okay. But then the trips with Matt, we would go and the boys would fall asleep in the back and I would get to the front. Well, we always stopped at Lamar's for the ice cream. The boys forgot that fact and they fell asleep with their face smushed up against the window. Well, one of these boys found a friend at camp. Their van drove right past us. Pat slowed down, Matt slowed down so the girls could take a picture of him. They luckily stopped at the Blue Bunny factory too. And we got to reminisce of that sweet moment. And then he decides to go on the bumper bars, wake them up and go, hey, ice cream time, not knowing they're going to be there. We walk upstairs. There's a whole table full of youth members, and Devin looks at one of the girls that he met, and he goes, oh boy. So we go there, and we start talking and everything, and the girl's on her phone. And she looks at me, and she holds it up, and I start laughing. Nobody else knows what I'm laughing at currently, except for the other people in the van. I look at Devin, and I just shake my head, and the girl finally shows it to him, and he goes, oh boy. And he walks away. But that was just one. Then we went to Sioux City and we got the $100 thingy. I did not spend a single dime of that. And he was not okay with that. And then we stopped at Chick-fil-A afterwards, before we came home. I was extremely shy until he brought me out of my shell during this experience. So he ordered for me. Afterwards, we were about to leave and I was like, yes, I get out of here with no confrontation with anybody I don't know. The cash register, the lady who was checking us was sitting at the booth right next to the door. Good, yay! He goes up to her and goes, I have somebody you need to talk to. And I'm sitting there, and I hide away, and he pulls me out and goes, this is Kelsey. And I'm pretty sure the girl's name was Caitlin or Kelsey. And so we chat for a little bit, and then he's like, okay, time to go. And we get in the van and goes, see, that wasn't that bad. And so from that point forward, he has made me talk to every single person whenever I do anything by myself.
I don't order any food for you anymore.
Nope. I've learned that the hard way. And the many times and stuff at youth group and everything, I've learned that he's very competitive. Played Ultimate Foursquare this last time, outside, in the dark. The lights were going off because they're motion sensors. Yeah, he would die for it, and I would be standing in the back corner. It'd come in the front. I'd try for it, but I wouldn't try that hard. And Matt's over here, flailing himself through the square. So that was pretty fun, I guess. And then there's way more, but yeah. And then this is the last thing, I promise. The little help we did for the yard work. I was there. We had the younger members, not the high schoolers, like the middle school, junior high kids come and help us. Well, the 3 older kids, including me, we were getting there, we were working hard and everything, and the other kids were just gradually getting along and everything. And granted, one of them was injured. Taking that into account, one of them was injured.
He was on sabbatical.
But that was okay. But there was 2 older kids, me and Ethan, and then Elizabeth were on one side. We took out one whole side, the people haven't even got like that much. And so he goes, well, we're not going to be able to go to the water park anymore. And the younger kids go, what? And we're just like, we don't care. We're getting the job done. And then we get into the van and everything, and we stop at MJ's house and everything. And he's like, well, we might have some time. We had time. He was just making sure the job got done and that they still kept working and then didn't just stop. So that was lots of fun.
We got to do mission in 3 different ways that day.
Yep.
I'm surprised you're up and talking. That's so cool. She wouldn't have done this a couple years ago. She'd see me look at me going. I'm so proud of you.
Well, she'll talk to you now, so we'll talk to her.
If not, I'll bring you over so you can talk to her.
That's been good. One last chance, otherwise I got something.
I'm Michelle. The first time I met Pastor Matt was when we went through Via de Cristo. And I've known him since, so it's been about 9 years. And I just can't believe it's been 9 years that we've known him. But at that time, I remember one of the first times we really got to talk outside of Via de Cristo was he was in the hospital visiting somebody else, and our daughter Caitlin was going through a very minor surgery, taking some warts off her feet. And Pastor Steve was actually on sabbatical that summer, so I just saw him walk down, and I told Brian, I said, I want Pastor Matt to come in and pray. And so he stopped what he was doing, he came over and he prayed with us, which just is awesome, because that's what you should do. He's been there for many things for us, many surgeries for us, going to the kids' events. I mean, he's just been a blessing. He's taught me to grow in my life with Christ, which I'm still continuing, but you know, I will never forget the late night talks that we would have after confirmation or something in depth. If you've not had a chance to talk with Matt and the Bible and what you should be doing, I'm sorry, because it's really awesome. He knows so much. I'm going to miss those talks and the conviction that he gave me on what I should be doing as a parent, as a woman of God. So it's definitely going to be hard to see him leave, because they truly became a family for us too. He's done a lot for both of my girls through the youth program and confirmation. So, we love you.
I got a few funnies. Oh, they're tag team.
I'll tell some funnies.
They're tag team.
We know that, you know, even though you're departing, it's not a goodbye, it's a see you later. It's a, I'll call you. Send you a picture. But how about some, and I'm going to still do that, by the way. And I expect Gary to do the same thing. Are you listening back there? Huh? Oh my God. We're still going to send you pictures of the front row parking spots that we get. Because this is a thing between Matt and Gary and I. And anybody else is welcome to do this too. We've all heard of Genie Jesus, right? You're pulling into a parking lot like, oh, please, just give me a front row parking space. Just love to have that. And then you get one in the parking lot, and you pull in and, thank you, God, for giving me that front row parking space. So, every time we get one of those, we send him a picture of that. Here's what Genie Jesus did for us today. Just rub our little bottle, and we get a front row parking space. So expect those pictures. And anybody else, hopefully you got Matt's number. Send him your front row parking space pictures all the time. As Michelle said, the first time we got to know Matt was at a Via Crisco weekend. But then a few years later, I went on a mission trip with Matt to Minot, North Dakota. And we had a lot of fun with that. We drank some Moose Drool beer together. If you've ever had that before, it's kind of got a very weird taste to it. But that was a local favorite there in Minot, so we enjoyed that. And when we were in the bunkhouse, they were like semi-trailers that were made into bunkhouses. And Matt was on the bottom because he had his sleeping machine, and of course it was plugged in there right next to the bed, and I was in the bunk right above him. And so one night I had to get up and use the restroom in the middle of the night, and they had a little ladder that you could get down from the top bunk to the bottom bunk. And halfway down the ladder, you just in the middle of the night, you heard this whack, and the ladder broke. And it fell onto Matt's bed, and he jumped up like a bolt of lightning. Are you okay? Are you all right? So that was fun. The excitement of that trip wasn't over at that point because we had to get home from Minot, North Dakota. Now, Matt drove all the way to North Dakota himself in the van. And so on the way back, I said, you know, I'll drive. And so I think we got from Minot to Mitchell, South Dakota, and I was just really drowsy because we were driving all night to get home. And so I was going to see if somebody else would want to drive, and Dennis Miller said, yeah, sure, I'll drive. And so he gets behind the wheel, and I think that was Linda sitting in the passenger seat next to him? Yeah. And if you ever drive with Dennis, be careful. Because he was, you know, he's driving and all of a sudden he's like this. And every time he would do this, Linda would go, Dennis, Dennis. And it was like that all the way from Mitchell, South Dakota down to Yankton, and we had to stop to kick gas. So like every 30 seconds, Dennis, Dennis. And so by the time we had gotten to Yankton, Matt and I just kind of went aside, and he's like, I think you should drive again. Please. So I did. We got back to Norfolk safely. Many of you may wonder, you might have heard me called Buana Karanga, and wonder where that came from. That means Mr. Peanut in Kiswahili.
And so that came from one of our Tanzanian trips where I was eating peanuts, and so they just called me Bwana Karanga. He also called Micah Bwana Viazi, which means Mr. Potato. Because he loved the potatoes there. So we just called him Bwana Viazi. So you can call him Bwana Viazi Head, Mr. Potato Head.
Niambani Chapani back there.
Niambani Chapani?
Yeah, home slice.
Home slice. So we all have our little Tanzanian names that came out of that too. But here's a really good Tanzanian story. And Micah was involved in this too. We were at this, of course, every night you go to some place different to eat. And so we were, and every single night, they fill you to maximum capacity. And when you have reached maximum capacity, they bring you more to go even more into this, state. And so we were eating in this backyard, and they had, candles out and tables just full of food, and we were just eating and eating and eating, and we were so full. And then there was one of the Tanzanian women brought Matt another big, huge plate of food. Third plate. Because you can't just eat one full plate, you have to eat two at least. And then so they brought Matt a third plate, heaping full of food. And he just turned over and he looks at Micah and I and he goes, "Tafadhali," which means please. He just turns and he says, "Tafadhali." And so Micah and I are still learning Kiswahili at this point. We're looking at each other like, what did you just say? So we're trying to disseminate what tafadhali means. And so he's like, "What do you think that means?" And I said, "Help a brother out." So it actually means please. So lots of good and fun times and more fun times to come. But one of the things that Michelle and I have talked about over the last few weeks with Matt's departure is who's going to do this and who's going to do that, and who's going to lead a youth group, or who's going to take us on mission trips and do things like that. We are, all of us. And that's something that I've learned from Matt. It's, don't leave it to somebody else. It's you that will do it. So we'll just have to work together and wish you luck. But you're not going to the casino.
No. Gary might be, but I'm not.
Ready else?
Play with,
Well, I will end this for now.
Wait.
I debated. Okay.
For your sake or mine.
I don't know. We'll decide that at the end. I'm Corey Hall, for those of you who don't know who I am. I was the secretary at the time when Matt embarked his position here. And listening to all you guys' stories, I can remember a lot of them just because I've either been a part of them or he's come back to talk to them. First time I remember meeting Matt was not here in the building, but it was at your welcome picnic. And I remember walking up behind Becky going, "So nice to meet you. Your husband gets to work with me." And I'm sure she was like, "Okay." But Becky, you've grown to be a really good friend of mine, and I'm super gonna miss you. So it's not just you, it's you.
You're all getting roasted now.
And if your brothers were here, they'd get a little bit too. But I wish I would have thought of this a little earlier, to give you your own signed underwear wrapped around a utility knife. Okay, so anyway, on that note, Jacob Sweetalk and Micah Bahnfleth donned my husband the underwear model. I don't even remember why.
They're just talking to Wednesday
It makes
Night Live.
sense.
What does he do? He doesn't do anything. He's like the secret man.
Ron's sitting at the table during Wednesday Night Live, and the two of them looking like, "Wow, you could be an underwear model."
Okay. So then we're in the process of re-roofing the house.
And somehow the utility knife drops through the roof into Micah's bedroom ceiling and gets roofed over. No one can find it. Well, I don't remember why, but we couldn't go in your closet. You were very meticulous about your closet, so don't go. And when it finally got found was somehow somebody climbed up in there, and what do you know, it was, yeah, because the only access to the attic was through Micah's
So he was the only one who went up there.
So anyway, so I wish I would have thought of that earlier on, that would have been a great gift. But Micah, you're only 2 hours away, and my parents live there, so I'll come find you. Okay, so while I worked here, this might get a little long, sorry. While I worked here, us 2 Norwegians and the cook, I'm gonna cook you some Greek food. Steve and I are like, great. No, he cooked us baba ganoush. No, ratatouille. And there was one other thing, but it was equally weird named. And I remember sitting right there and going, yeah, man, this is great. Never again have I eaten baba ganoush or ratatouille. But thank you. It was great to be able to broaden my horizon.
Corey, you can eat it again tonight. I just took it out of the
Sweet. Make sure it's on my plate, Margaret. You and me, I don't know. We kind of clicked.
That's a mess.
You were the brother I never had. We had an awesome working relationship. We could tell the truth to each other. You've been there for my kids. You've been there for my husband and me. Margaret, we're gonna battle on who can cry the most. But you came over the other night, which was awesome. And we had coffee last week. Well, we had tea coffee. It was still not the whole point of what we were drinking. I'm gonna miss that. But I know where that's at. I know where my brain tool is. And it's on the way to Ohio, where I have family, so watch out. And if you need a ride, we'll just swing by and get you. Anyway, I don't have a lot to say except for it was a great ride when we were here. I think they know what they're getting themselves into, because Becky's already been there for a month. You're going to be missed by a lot. Your presence will always be
having
here.
fun.
So, thank you for everything.
He forget him too.
My daughter's very pretty.
Video. How many of you journal? Journal, write down the town. I've been doing the last couple of years, and so I was thinking of this. So I just sat down with my pen to the talking, and this is what I wrote just actually this afternoon. I'd rather just write it out, make sure I get what I want to say to you. This is my letter to you. You can take it with you. Dear Matt, while words are inadequate, while words will be inadequate to express everything I'd like to say to you, I'm going to give it a try. Little did I know how much our paths would connect over the years when you first arrived in Pierce in 2003 for your first call. There was a transplant from the urban cities of Chicago, Cincinnati, Columbus, Ohio, and God surprised you by placing you in a small rural town in northeast Nebraska. I've never many times wondered why. As part of the ELCA at that time, pastors gathered in clusters for support, study, reflection, and prayer. It's then that we discovered that we had a kindred spirit and we had a similar love for the Lord in the Lutheran tradition, the proclamation of both the law and the gospel. It was during those formative years that we shared and expressed our common concerns about the leadership in our denomination. As you watch Christ the servant discern what our best pathway in mission and ministry, you too were seeking the same thing in Pierce. while we voted to become LCMC, I think you were looking for a similar job, which did not materialize. But as we move forward, many of our families here who had youth were looking for a more permanent person to lead our youth and our youth families. And so when we first thought about a youth time worker, others sensed the value of calling a second ordained pastor. After the initial process, we know that the pastors that wanted to come here were coming because they just wanted a job. And they weren't really discerning the need of a call. And with this in mind, I called you up. And you considered this position. You did pray about it a long time. And then felt called to come here 6 years ago. While much can be said about our last 6 years, I believe, like we said recently, God gave us a window of 3 years. And we knew we had a window of 3 years, and God gave us 6. While our members dropped for a variety of reasons, our congregation has grown spiritually in ways which you have seen that could never have happened without you. As you know, you are a prophet, and a prophet sees what can be done, and they want to see it to come to fruition as soon as possible. So prophets speak the truth, which some do not always like to hear, let alone respond. But like we said, you and I have been plowing up a lot of ground lately, and some of it's been pretty hard. But this has taken because of your presence, of which I am eternally grateful. I really am. I hope that others will come to know and appreciate what you've done. I needed your voice to accompany mine here. But you also spoke as you heard the truth in love. You have a pastor's heart with a deep compassion. Anyone who is around Matt for a short time around you realizes that all you do is out of love. It's out of God's love, which you both comfort and challenge. Many, and I mean many, have seen that and felt that and experienced your love of your heart, which makes it hard for them to see you go and for you to go as well. I firmly believe Christ the servant will continue to see the fruit of your labor here. With the ground now plowed, it's ready to receive new seed for you to grow. In many ways, we hit a perfect storm here. We have families with overextended lifestyles, 3 growing community pre-churches that have bigger youth groups. We have seen families move to other communities that live in other communities, a challenge to come here, and we've also seen too many families leave because of vocational relocation. But with storms come new beginnings and there come new opportunities. I will covet your prayers as we move forward. We need to revisit who and what God is calling us to be and become. We may not see the growth, but I will continue to plant and water the seed we've done together. So God's blessing as you begin a new call, a new setting. Being a senior pastor will allow you to do things and lead in ways that you may not have been able to do here in the past. I realize that 10 hours will not allow us to see each other, but hopefully we can Skype or text or email. Or as I now learn, if I get a parking spot, I'll send you a picture. I have truly valued your friendship, not just these past 6 years, but for the past 14. Your insight, your advice, and for all these things you've done. So, so God's richest blessing to you. And don't forget, as I always tell people, to have fun. In the midst of all the activity, I'll ask you, what are you doing for fun? Because you got to do that. And take good care of Becky. Where is she? There's no greater gift than having a loving spouse by your side. I speak from experience. You'll never forget her, as I will never forget Mary. So blessings to you. It's here. So Godspeed with you. I love you, and we all do here. So thanks. So I'm going to let you respond if you want in any way.
I get to see you compete. Thank you to you all. I see people from multiple congregations and multiple events in life, from Tex to Vita Christos to visitors from other places around the world. We just fall in love with, and all of you here today. You know, this is these dang allergies. I hate these things. This is not easy.
Joke's on you, you're lost for words.
No, I'm not lost. They're all in there. They're just trying to actually get out. Never lost for words. I was always told once before, it said a pastor should never be without words to say, and I've tried to fill that position ever since. And Steve tells me, just listen. But this is not an easy thing for us.
Yeah, take your cross.
I'm kind of worried that people always thought that when we left Pierce, it was tough. It was tough. And I wrestled back and forth. Was I supposed to come here? Was I supposed to say? Because unlike perhaps others, I literally become involved with you. You become important. I cry when you cry. You never know it. I die when you die. I laugh because you get to laugh. And what makes that work is that it's because of God. There is nothing more important than your relationship with Jesus Christ. Nothing. Other than the relationship that he puts you in with everybody else around you, who all need the same thing you do. People from Pierce, people from Vita Cristo, people from Singapore, people from wherever, you're all the same. We're all the same. And I keep trying to tell people in Illinois, I said, I hate to tell you this, I said, but when I talk to you, all you're going to get is what I'm telling me. And that's all you've ever gotten from me is because I'm preaching to me, because I know hurt, and I know loss, and I know joy, and I know promise. And it's been an honor to be among all of you, young, old, and everything in between, in ways that you'll never, ever know. We have been here for 14 years in Nebraska. I call this here because I always said that anybody would be an idiot to move 20 miles from their home. What kind of an idiot would pack up all their stuff and move 20 miles from their home? Oh, yes. And then just so people in Pierce know, it wasn't so easy to leave because I used to, for the first year, literally when I was driving home, I kept going that way. Until I realized, wait a minute, I live here, and I had to come back here. And well, I don't know her, but I've never lived anywhere longer than 9 years, ever. In the 14 years we've been here, we've lost her parents, and we've lost Mother. And because of the distance, we couldn't go. We just didn't get opportunities to do that. And our family, unfortunately, we're the ones who go to see people. Our family is exactly the ones who come to see us. The reason all this is this way is because you're my family, and you're Becky's family. You have been what gave us life. And that's why this is so hard for us. And I just want you to know that it's hard. I don't want anybody to think we're like, ooh, we got to get out of here. And yet there's a whole big group of people I know I'm needing to love, and I'm starting to love over there. And they know what they're getting, because Becky will tell you the first sermon I told them, I said, look, this would be a whole lot easier job if I could just hire and fire all of you. But it wouldn't be God's church. So we got to keep the weeds in the church too. So my only encouragement to all of you, whether you're Vita Cristo, whether you're in Pierce, whether you're here, whether you're in college, whether you're going to college, whether you're, no matter who you are. When I first interviewed here, and I've repeatedly said this, Steve knows, I was very clear when I interviewed here. People asked me, what are you going to do to grow the church? And my answer has gotten much better. But I said, well, the church isn't going to grow here until each and every one of you takes on your ministry in Jesus. And it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen. When I got to Illinois, the first question that a group of people asked me sitting there said, what are you going to do to help keep the youth in the church? I said, I'm going to do absolutely nothing. I'm here to help you do it. because they need you to do it, because pastors come and pastors go. Well, some of them. But even he's going to go at some point. Pastors come and pastors go. That's the hard part. But God does that for a reason. Every pastor that comes with something for you, because God knows what the congregation needs at that moment. I don't know what anybody needs. I know God knows. I don't know for sure but I know that God's sending me there. But for you, whether you're in the congregation of Pierce or wherever you are in this congregation, God has put you together for a purpose. There's no mistaking it. You're here together for a purpose. He brought all the pieces together, and all I wanted to do is help spark that light, that whatever. Several verses I've come to have as my ministry. I've come to realize are my ministry in a nutshell. But my favorite one is the story of the tree and the landlord. Jesus is walking and tells the disciples one day that a man walks up to one of his fruit trees that he's planted. And he looks at it and it's not bearing fruit. He's come and it's not bearing fruit. It's not bearing fruit. And he finally looks at the guy who's taking care of the plants. He says, just cut it down and burn it. And the gardener says, whoa, wait a minute. Master, give me a little time. Give me just 1 year. Give me 1 year. And let me till it up. Let me put some fertilizer on it. And then if you come back and it's not bearing fruit, then you can cut it down. Well, I'm not the landlord. I've gotten to be the gardener. And the way I keep telling people, I haven't told you this, but the way I tell people the story is like, Jesus keeps coming after me and says, okay, how come this place isn't bearing fruit? And I said, well, just wait a minute. How do you know it's not bearing fruit? I know it's right. Just give me a year, Lord. Give me a year. Give me 6 years. I need to tear up the ground. That's what I got to do. People don't like me for it. That's my gift. I get to, as my internship supervisor said, you tell the truth and remember what they did to Jesus when he told the truth. Just so you know about your ministry. I don't want you to change it. That's fine. So I got to break the ground. I got to help break hearts. And some hearts are still not broken. That's okay. They'll break because God will break everything. But I've come to really realize the best part about this job as the gardener is not that I get to tear up the ground and break the ground. It's all gotten really comfortable and settled. Is I get to put a lot of crap on it. It is fertilizer, right? We are in a rural. I get to put a lot of crap on it. And you've put up with a lot of my crap. You're not done yet. Anybody over here tomorrow, you're like, oh, here he goes again. Steve actually said last week, we have no idea what's going to happen, son. He said, just come and see what happens. But I also appreciate that because you've borne with me in that. Ken, I think, says you just never know what's going to happen. Well, you know, but I just want you to know that everything that was done, I would do it all over again. I would give my heart to be able to just stay and do it. Because what I see as I stand here today looking, not just at this moment, but what I've seen happening in the last year, is things are starting to grow. Things are starting to happen. Things are really starting to change. And I just encourage you all to keep on doing what you do. We will be in the church. We will be with you. Sunday mornings, I'll be thinking of you and praying for you and worshiping with you. We'll just be doing it somewhere else. And I hope you'll remember us in that midst too, as we worship and do that. You will not be able to be replaced. The 14 years here. It'll never be replaceable. And you will always be my family. Every one of you. So I thank God that I got sent from big city ministry to homeless people, African Americans, Hispanic people, and I got sent to, what the heck are you doing, Lord, sending me to Pierce, Nebraska, where everybody looks the same. And they all farm, and I have no idea what canning is. And what the heck is a plat map? And what does it mean to go 2 trees down, take a left by the big house, and then go down? I've learned a lot here. I've learned a lot here that I won't be taking with me there. But I know why God sent me. It wasn't so I could teach you something. It's because of what all of you have taught me. And don't think that you aren't the reason I'm leaving. The reason I'm leaving or being sent to her. And here's an interesting little, we show up to go and interview. Susan Thompson's known about this longer than anybody else because we show up to interview, and this is right after Galen's funeral. And a lady walks up to her and she goes, "Hi, I'm Galen Thompson's cousin. We so hope you come here, and thank you for being a part of this funeral." Susan's and Galen's family is in that congregation. We're already connected, you see, it's all been connected. Becky's siblings are baptized in that congregation. It's all been prepared, but the reason why you're important and the reason why I'm getting sent is because you've all prepared me to go do, hopefully, what God is going to do with me there. And it's because of all of you. For the people from Pierce, especially, I got Corey, and I got Kathy, and I got Karen Zerke here. Karen Zerke, stand up. I'm going to give her a round of applause. And because if you don't know, Karen was my first administrative assistant in Pierce for all those years, and if anybody had to put up with a lot of garbage, that lady.
That was your first sweetheart.
Yes, absolutely. And you got me ready for her, and you got me ready for her, and now there's people in Illinois who are ready for her. It's all that kind of stuff, And I will never be able to express enough our thanks for helping to raise our children and make them who they are, for helping to help us welcome in a new child, and his mom and dad are here, and that's my boy, Devin, right there. To help walk with and support and love a lady who had to put up with a lot of stuff, and to walk us through the losses we went through. You all made life possible here. So I give thanks to God. And in the words of anyone from Tanzania would know this, and the rest of you will go like, what? Mungu akipenda, tutunapenda. According to God's love, we will see each other again. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have a time of fellowship and food. We'll get the food out, and you want to bless the food? This will be okay. And if you want to do it in Swahili or whatever.
I can't. Right. Well, Father God, we thank you for this time. We thank you for the gift of your presence here, because truly that's what this is all about. We thank you for one another. We thank you for the church. Lord, help us continue to keep alive the vision of that for us, and to see what it means and where you're going to take all of it as we work and seek for you. So Lord, especially right now, we ask for those who can't be here, especially if we think of Richard today, who's recovering from his surgery. We pray that you would bless him and all those in need in our congregation and communities. And we thank you, Lord, for the blessings of the food and the conversation we're going to have that will strengthen us and nourish us to your end. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Just one quick, knew we were friends, and they said, we don't need another Pastor Steve. Well, they did not get another Pastor Steve. We got Matt, who's very competent. So, thanks for coming. We hope you can stay for lunch, but certainly visit with Matt here before this evening, and you're sure welcome tomorrow for a work service at 10:20. Thank you, Ken and Molly Ann and all